Many years ago, I was told by a younger member of my family who lived in America for years that there should not be any taxes, people should not pay any taxes. Plus, he mentioned that the banks and the government prints money out of no backup. And this way they devalue the money, obviously, and help the rich people to get richer, which I did not agree with him at the time. Also, a few years after that, a young family friend mentioned to me about social engineering, that through various programs and social activities, the authorities direct people's behavior and social behavior, especially towards a goal that they have in mind. Again, I disagreed with him at the time. In both occasions, I had no clue about what they were saying. A few years later, I came to understanding and realize both those statements were correct and true. I haven't spoken to neither of these two guys since, but I have the intention of apologizing to them for not understanding them. But then again, they couldn't explain those two thoughts in a way that I would have probably agreed with them at the time if they had done it. I'm saying this to come to the subject I'd like to talk about now, and that is the behavior of our young people at the moment, at present. I've realized the social engineering, which has been in practice for past 20, 30 years, has brought us to the state where we are now, that our youngsters, our university students, especially the first year students, are so inactive in social protests, in analyzing situations, political issues, which then facing the present, as they call, pandemic state of the country, they seem to accept everything thrown at them. When I look back at my younger days, when I was 20 or in 20s, and I remember the type of activities students were involved, it makes me feel sad and disappointed in the future of the human race, not just in England, everywhere. We do see odd uprising by students. The last one was against the policies the coalition government of Conservative and Lib Dem brought in for imposing student fees and all that. But since then, we hardly see any objective actions, any uprising, let's be plain about it, by the students against all these anti-social, anti-human, anti-economy rules and regulations imposed upon us by the present government, especially in the past few months. I hope they wake up. It's only a hope, and I don't think they will. In the past 20, 30 years, the way the media has been educating and leading our youngsters to believe and grow up has made them a group of people or a generation who do actually believe in inactive approaches to life and hope for the luck to strike and make them successful, be it as musicians, sports people, or politicians and various other social activities or social professions. While we have programs like Britain Got Talent and many other similar programs, which helps unknown youngsters to jump the ladder of success and become overnight idols, then how do we expect musicians of the category of lots of those in 60s and 70s to come through or shine? Same with sports. When the sports people, the stars, are earning such massive income, how can we expect stars like I watched and the younger generations probably heard of, who we had in 60s and 70s, to come through? Same with most of other professions. In politics, when the university graduates, because of their relationship with the party leaders, overnight they become members of parliament and members of the governments and ministers in the cabinets. We're not going to see the type of politicians we used to have in 60s, 70s, and till early 80s, who actually worked their backside through ranks and experienced door-to-door activities before they ended up either as member of parliament, councillors, or a minister in a government. I said all this to then reflect on the reaction of the students at the moment. who have been imprisoned in their camps, who have been restricted in their movements, and they're not showing any sign of objections and satisfaction and massive gathering of movement against the university or the governments or authorities anyway, in general. It is a shame that we people have been led to accept everything thrown at us by this government in this country and most of the countries in the world, to be so scared of a virus, a type of flu virus, that even general public are turning against each other, of reporting each other probably to police. They've been encouraged to do so because their neighbors had a few people in the house. And it seems we all ready, well, most of the population are ready to accept a vaccine to fight this virus, which there is no guarantee that any vaccine will stop this type of virus to attack us in future. I looked at the statistics and reports from past pandemics, and we've had many of them. The worst ones, I think, the worst one we had in recent years, which was in 70s, was Hong Kong flu, which killed up to 4 million people all around the world. But we had no lockdown, no self-isolations, no restrictions. The economy wasn't affected. I don't understand why these students who are supposed to be the intellect of our societies, the best of our societies, they don't educate themselves and learn about the past pandemics and approaches by various governments and the present enforcement of anti-human rules and regulations. In my opinion, up to now, I think the government must have spent about £1,000 billion to so-called fight this virus. In my opinion, they could have spent a fraction of this money first towards the education and advertising and promoting self-hygiene and proper social behavior so we can keep the virus at bay. Plus, they could have spent a few billions towards the improvement in capacity and personnel of the National Health Service, just in case we had extra patients or overwhelming patients approaching National Health Service for help or medication. But they could have left the economy and people's job alone, and they didn't have to spend all these handouts which only help for a short period. And we're going to end up with so many businesses going to the wall and so many millions of people unemployed. I don't know why we don't have the type of investigative journalists as we had in 70s at the moment, who would question the government and the ministers. About their approach to this virus and pandemic. Why don't our students take action? Why the unions are so inactive? And worst of all, why the Labour Party go along with all these reckless rules and regulations? I'll leave that for you to think about. I'm lost in getting an answer. I hope you can work it out, or you might have an answer. You could help me to see it your way, maybe.